everybody, Brian here. It's Wednesday evening, the 24th, and I wanted to take a little bit closer look at some of these cryptocurrencies. What we're going to look at are some of the top capitalized cryptos. First off, the biggest one is Bitcoin, but this comes up with a nice little way to remember them, kind of like FANG stocks. Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. I call them Rebel. So what we want to do is look at these four and look at where we are. So first up in the upper left corner, we have a daily chart. Then we have a 4-hour chart right here. Each candle represents 4 hours. This bottom left is a 2-hour chart. Each candle represents 2 hours. And then over here, 15 minutes. So starting with the daily time frame, let's take a look at this first. The recent sharp decline, first we saw a test of the 50-day moving average, then a test of the 100-day moving average. This was also a important Fibonacci level that we spoke about. That's why we bought some down at 9,900. And last trade, we closed out on average for 12.6%. Now, a couple days ago, we bought some at 10,750, looking for the opportunity to purchase more on a deeper pullback. What we have right now, let's just go back to this one on the left first. Each day, by the way, is differentiated the way they do Bitcoin. It's a 24-hour market, and it's the UTC time zone. Basically, what the UTC time zone is, it begins at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. For me, that's when I know the new day begins. So that would be 7 p.m. Eastern Time is when the new daily candle develops. Here on this daily time frame, we can see we've got a declining 10-day, 20-day, and even the 50-day moving average. So we're still in a corrective mode the way that I see it, and that's why so far the purchase that we've made just last week at 10,750 was a small one, 3 risk units. And I'm going to once again link to the post that describes what those risk units are. Anyways, the 5-day moving average is the orange line, and you can see that over here on the 2-hour time frame. The red is the 10-day, and that's consistent over here as well. You can see how that 10-day moving average acted as found sellers right here on that last bounce. And the 20 is the blue, and the 50 is the green. So right now, again, we're in corrective mode. We still have this 5-day moving average declining slightly. We will start to see that begin to rise a little bit in here. But we've got this trend line from the most recent sell-off. And as I've said, we want to draw the trend line that represents the essence of trend. You don't have to hit it off this peak here because then it passes through all these prices. Instead, this represents the essence of trend. You can still see we have a downward trending line and we have a declining 5-day moving average. By the way, at the end of this, I'm going to show you a stock that I think is going to be something to keep a close eye on in the blockchain rather technology. So what I think that we want to see happen to get some conviction on the long side in Bitcoin would be for it to rally up maybe to this declining trend line, pull back, test the 5-day moving average, and then come back up towards 1300. 1300 is where that 20-day moving average will be met in a couple days as well. At that point, I think it'd be nice to see the market back off further and then create another higher low, maybe near 12,000. So in other words, rally up to 12, pull back to basically where we are, rally up to 13, pull back to 12, and then perhaps continue higher. So we've still got some time before we need to make, before we should consider taking a bigger position. Ethereum, this one is, you can see that the most recent pullback from the high down to the 50-day moving average was also met right at a from that decline to the 50-day moving average, it rallied almost precisely to a 61.8% before the sellers came back in. You can also see that's where we also saw that declining 10-day moving average. So it's pretty simple analysis with these cryptos, with not a lot of fundamental data to go on. I mean, you can read till you're blue in the face articles about these cryptos, but the fact is there's no traditional way to value them similar to a stock. So that's why I think technicals really work well for showing us the way here. So when we see a conjunction of, well, 50-day moving average is deeply oversold, biggest volume tends to occur at turning points. We saw the rally up to the 61.8% retracement and the declining 10-day moving average. And now we can drill down a little bit further. From that recent low to this little peak right here, which occurred at the 10-day moving average near 1200. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. This is 2 hours each candle represents. It pulled back almost precisely to 61.8%, and now we see that we're bouncing up through that 5-day moving average, that's the orange line, and up to this declining trend line. We also have an upward trend line developing. So I think that when it comes to Ethereum, that this market looks much better than Bitcoin right now. But still, what I'd like to see would be for a rally back up towards this little peak near 11,750, pull back, make a higher low at 11, and then break out. That way we would have that 10-day moving average heading higher, the 20-day moving average heading higher. So this market is also should be considered in corrective mode. It's bullish that we're seeing these higher lows with a rising 50-day moving average, but there's no real impetus to buy until we see this level tested and then a pullback, make a higher low, and then breaking beyond 1200. I think you'd probably see it head up north of these highs near 1400. So still no hurry to get involved, and you certainly don't want to chase. You want to wait for these pullbacks to occur, similar to the people who chased right here. Wait for the pullback. If you're looking to build a position in these because you think they have a better longer term horizon, then build a little position, trade some of them. I'm not here to tell anyone how to trade these things, but instead to point out the key levels. Litecoin is considered the silver to Bitcoin's gold. So if you take a look at the most recent big rally that occurred mid-November up to the peak in December, it also pulled back and has been closing above the 61.8% retracement. It got deeply oversold and came down to the 100-day moving average. So again, it doesn't mean you buy at these levels, but they're reference points, something to compare price to. From the most recent leg lower, this market rallied again almost exactly 61.8% and met that declining 10-day moving average. That's the red moving average. And to come up with a 10-day moving average using 4-hour candles, there are 6 4-hour periods per day. So over the course of 5 days, or 10 days rather, that would be a 60 period moving average on the 4-hour chart. The 5-day moving average would be a 30 period. You can see the 5-day moving average is still declining. So I think that if we got back up towards 200, then maybe pull back, test that 5-day moving average, run up to 220, that's where we'll see the 20-day moving average. So again, I think that we're head up, pull back, rally up towards here, pull back again, and then we could probably continue to move higher. Finally, Ripple is this one's been great actually. If this is a static chart I just captured, but the 5-day moving average, it rode this 5-day moving average from pennies up to where it broke down here, and then that 5-day moving average started to decline, and every one of these rallies has been guilty till proven innocent. Even in here, we saw the 5-day moving average flatten out, but we still had the market below it. The 5-day moving average is still declining, so what we need to see is this trend line broken, and then maybe rally up slightly through $1.50, pull back a little bit. That's where we see the 10-day moving average as well. And then I think you're going to see a quick little pop up towards the 20-day moving average, which is currently at about $1.80. So maybe this one represents the best near-term trading opportunity to look at. By the way, a word about exchanges. Coinbase, I think, is horrible. You have to wait forever for your trades to clear. Gemini, I like the best. They've got a nice order book. You can only trade Bitcoin and Ethereum there. If you want to trade Litecoin, you can do that on Coinbase. But I think the better option is probably Poloniex, POLONIEX.com. You can trade what they refer to as the shit coins there as well. All these little garbage ones that trade in hundreds and thousands of a penny. Now let's talk about something interesting here. We've seen that there's been some ETFs recently. One came out last week, BLOK. The other one I think was BCLN. I was looking at the components here, and you can see they've raised, I think their net assets are $122 million. So this basically shows us where, what the top holdings are. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. So we can see here 122 million in assets, and it just came public 4 days ago. Let's do this and zoom back in. I lost my zoom tool. Here it is. So let's zoom back in and look at these holdings. Taiwan Semiconductor represents 6%. Overstock, a company with a $1.9 billion market cap. Digital Garage, a Japanese company that we can't trade. So 1.9 billion is the smallest market cap Overstock until you get down to number eight on the list rather, and that's Hive Blockchain. It's 4.24%. It is just $625 million market cap. Here we can see these are the top holdings. So it has essentially the same exact weighting as does IBM and Nvidia. So this little company, basically, if you look at Nvidia is what, 200 and something dollars per share. This stock is right now trading, what was the price? I think it's under $3 a share. It's like 260 or so. We'll look at the chart in a minute. Anyways, this one has the smallest market cap. It's just a third of the next smallest one, which is Overstock. If this ETF starts attracting more assets, it's going to have to buy more blockchain, because that's what the portfolio represents, is a piece of each of these companies. So let's take a look at the chart. Again, I don't think it's a buy right now. However, I do think that you want to keep an eye on this stock. Where did my chart go for it? Hold on. So this is Hive Blockchain, HVBTF. You can see it came public last September, and since then, it had a huge run up, as these little stocks do, and now it's settling down. It trades about 600,000 shares a day. It's got a declining 50-day moving average, so we don't want it yet, but that 50-day moving average will start to flatten out sometime in the next 2 weeks. If we take a look at the volume weighted average price since coming public, you can see here we're kind of just below it. We're also below the volume weighted average price from the peak. So most likely, what do we need to do? We most likely need to see that it does something like, comes up in towards this area. So let's just, without having the benefit of a place to draw on the right, if it does something like this, then I think that you're going to want to keep an eye on this one. I will be mentioning it, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on that one, and that way you can understand the logic of why we're going to be trading this wacky little Canadian company sometime probably in the next month or so.